Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to you. You're watching another episode of Encounter. In the studios of the MBC today, we have Saivani, a psychologist with us, and a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Roshan.
Saivani, people already know you from the various appearances you've done on television or radio, because you also sing, you also write, and you're also a musician. But today, the reason why you're here with us for this episode of Encounter, you're here as a psychologist. It is a field that you practice professionally. So thank you again for being here.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
Saivani, first things first. There's a lot of myth. Many people have misunderstandings about psychologists. If I tell someone I'm going to see a psychologist, they think I'm going crazy. So can you give us a broad definition?
What is the difference between all living beings? Let's say human beings and animal, the animal kingdom. We have the ability to discriminate. That doesn't mean animals don't have a mind. They do have, but they are based on instincts. We have the ability to choose and to know what is right and wrong. So psychology is mainly the study of the mind, and a psychologist helps someone to understand himself better, or maybe he does it by himself already, but we help the person if, like, for example, you said you're going to a psychologist means you're not mentally unstable. That's not the reason. You may just have a problem and you can't find the solution, which is why people go to seek help. So we need to find someone who can help you in that field. Sometimes our family members, parents can help, but that can be biased because they are in the same family, in the same house, in the same home, or they know the situation. But a psychologist will help objectively, and then the person may feel he's independent now because he's got the guidance. We don't decide for the person, we show the direction. The decision is the person's.
I have to ask you this question. What is the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist?
That's a very good question. Psychologist, okay, we do counseling. We counsel people. So in that way, we talk and the person reveals his different issues that he's facing, the challenges, and we give the counseling, not advice. That's different. Advice is we are telling the person to do a specific action or a specific activity. Counseling is we teach him to be independent. A psychiatrist, that goes to another level where people have mental disbalance. Then they have to be on pills. They need prescription. Yes, they need to be on medication so that they can soothe, maybe help them for sleep, or their anxiety levels, or their trembling hands, you know, things that are physical and mental.
So even if someone goes to see a psychiatrist also, it doesn't mean they're crazy?
Not at all.
No.
Not at all.
How do you find yourself being a psychologist?
That's a very good question, because when I see a child, I can feel what the child has gone through, or maybe what is going through. So then I wanted to go deeper, delve further down in that field and work with children. Well, there are different fields of working with children, teachers, doctors, then psychologists. So then I worked out a way where child psychology really appealed to me. And as psychologists, well, we all know that in this world, we have been sent for a particular reason from somewhere. Maybe a divine energy sent us to fulfill our duty on earth. We can call it our purpose, our life mission, or our life purpose. So as psychologists, I must say that we are not the doer. The doer is someone else, a higher power. We are just the mere instrument that the Lord or the Almighty takes up and through us makes us do these activities or the job that we are doing to help others.
But you're still able to take decisions, right? You're not just, I wouldn't call it a mere instrument. You're an instrument, but you're still able to take decisions on your own, right?
Absolutely. But then we have to know what is the right decision to take. And the guidance comes from above.
From what you just said, it means that you specialize in child psychology. But it's not only about the child. There are many other fields, like when someone is having trouble dealing with a specific situation and it comes the person is not able to get out of that situation, it also affects the family. It also affects the surrounding. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Yes. So when a child, let's say, okay, in this field, I work with children. We have child counseling, youth counseling, parenting, family counseling. So all these are the different fields, the different aspects that encircle the child. That's the circle of the child. For a child, mother, father, that's his or her world.
All right.
So when something is disturbed in that environment, definitely there's a disbalance in the harmony of the family. Then the parents, mother or father, get stressed also because seeing their child in trouble, it pains the heart of every mother or father, every parent. So parents who are watching us today, maybe they can identify certain situations where they faced those difficulties and their child was not well. Now, there are different fields in there. Maybe the child in the educational level, academically, they're not performing well, or things are happening at school, teachers, bullying, children, you know, all these, or results. Now with the COVID or the pandemic that came, we don't know what's happening in the education system, 2-day schooling, 3-day schooling, we don't know. So all this is stressing more the parents than maybe the child, unless the child is in some very important class, then he will realize. But for a kid, he is happy to be home.
This is probably a tricky question.
Okay.
So does the responsibility fall more on the child or on the parents?
I think it will work both ways to teach the child what is the priorities, what is the priority of the child now, and empower the child to know what he has to do as where he is now, like as a child. His duty is to study, but then the child also needs to understand the parent. So we have the ladder of life.
All right.
The ladder of life. As adults, we have already reached a certain level in that ladder. And our children, they are now beginning to climb it.
Yes.
So to make the child understand that beyond what's happening, first, we can't from up teach the child or explain to him. He won't understand a thing. We have to come down to the level of the kid and tell him what's happening in their own words, in their own environment, in their own emotions. Then they will maybe try to get the gist of it. So slowly and gradually, when they will climb the ladder of life, they will then realize simultaneously that what the parent is trying to convey to him.
Another tricky question.
Okay.
Parents nowadays tend to protect their child or their children too much.
A child is at the beach and he's eating an ice cream, all right? So he's fully in that moment. He doesn't care of the dress, of where he is, or if the thing is, you know, the cream is dripping off and everything is being smeared all over his face. He's just enjoying the moment.
Of course, he's loving the ice cream.
Absolutely. And who will come and spoil it? This is a new dress I gave you. You spoiled it, come. Took out the ice cream from the hand of the child and starting to clean up the child. So then the moment is spoiled. Who is spoiling it? Either the mother or the father. Mostly mothers, but I would say parents.
Parents.
So first we need to understand what is happiness? What are we seeking in the world? Children are happy. They are just happy. There's no reason whatsoever. I'm happy because I got a new phone. I'm happy because I'm in a new car now, or I got a new job, I got promotion. Happiness depends on something for some people.
Yes.
But for children, just being happy, that means bliss.
That's their natural state.
Natural state, absolutely.
Oh, fantastic.
So then, when the child is enjoying, we let the child enjoy. Later on, then they'll understand, okay, this was a new dress or whatever it is, you know, and try to know how to behave in society. But the moment shouldn't be spoiled.
For now, we'll just take a short break and we will invite the viewers of Encounter to watch this very small video about psychology and its concept. Psychology is the academic and applied study of mental functions and behaviors. The word psychology comes from two specific Greek words, psyche, which means soul, life or mind, and logia, which means the study of. Simply put, psychology is the study of the mind.
The overarching goal of psychology is to understand the behavior, mental functions, and emotional processes of human beings. This field ultimately aims to benefit society partly through its focus on better understanding of mental health and mental illness. To better understand how psychology emerged from its pre-scientific roots, it is important that we go all the way back in time to ancient Greece. Psychology's pre-scientific roots began with asking fundamental questions about the human mind, like how does it work? Some argue that knowledge is learnt and acquired through observation and everyday experiences, like learning how to read and write. Still in ancient Greece, the most curious thinkers like Aristotle, Plato and Socrates were asking similar questions. Holding similar beliefs in the late 17th century, British philosopher John Locke argued that the mind at birth is a blank slate and what we come to know comes from our experience. This idea would pave the way for modern empiricism, a theory that all knowledge is derived from our senses. During the 17th century, French philosopher René Descartes introduced the idea of dualism, which asserted that the mind and body were two entities that interact to form the human experience. It was not until the late 19th century when psychology began to emerge as a scientific discipline. In the early days of psychology, there were two dominant theoretical perspectives regarding how the brain worked: structuralism and functionalism. Structuralism was the name given to the approach pioneered by Wilhelm Wundt, which focused on breaking down mental processes into the most basic components.
Welcome back to Encounter. We still have Saivani in the studios with us at the NBC. This was a very interesting report, but earlier before that we were speaking about how parents potentially overprotect their kids or their child.
Right.
So is there a problem in parents not realizing that they're only catering for material needs, but they also need to be there? So probably that addresses a major part of the people who come to see you for psychological advice.
Parents also protect their child in the health category. So health-wise, their children need to be healthy in all ways. What they're eating, what they're wearing, where they're going, how they're going, with whom they're going, for how long will they be there, so all these. Parents, they have an eye on it. Let's say homemade food, for example. But parents, yes, they have become more providers than parents. They provide everything. And here we are talking of materialistic things.
Exactly.
Maybe school materials or technological materials. Nowadays, this is the trend.
Yep.
Little kids are having great tablets and iPhones and whatnot. And children, they are consumers. They're consuming it. Whereas earlier, I'm talking of when maybe you and I were not even born, and there was not such development as we have now in the world, but then families were very bonded together.
Exactly.
And what was the key there? It was the communication. They need not have a phone to communicate. They were there for each other.
Or have a Zoom meeting to have dinner.
Oh, yeah, nowadays that's also fashion.
Especially with your parents.
Oh, yes, that's true. That doesn't mean that all this technology is not helping. Of course it is, because some kids are abroad and they want to keep in touch. This has helped a lot,
Sure.
True. But it's there as a facility. It should not rule our life. We should not forget our basics. And there's you were saying equation, right? So when materialistic comfort rises, automatically human values or spiritual values decreases. It's relative.
Okay.
When we are very much in comfort, we won't bother if our neighbor or next door some people is in trouble, because we are fine. For the children that are facing these kinds of challenges, we can say that parents are not there. What do you need? You need this? Okay, in a jiff, you get it. But the child wants some time. That's why we say in psychology and in many other jargons, we say quality time. What does that mean? It means you're there in mind, in thought, physically with your children. Because your children don't need you only physically. Physically, yes. Emotionally, mentally, psychologically, and ultimately spiritually. Then the child, we can, l'encadrement, as we say,
Yep.
they grow up in that environment to be a responsible citizens. And in turn, when they will be parent, they learn through imitation. When we'll be parents one day, maybe we'll think, oh, what did our mom and dad do? We'll do the same.
What is the main problem? What is the main issue that people come to see you as a psychologist? We're keeping it to the child psychology, right?
There are many issues that's affecting the family, but one of the most challenging ones is the technology. Children, they are very much addicted, I will use the term addiction here, to some device, technological device, tablet, phone, laptop, computer, PC.
That's not specific to children. That also applies to adults.
Yes.
Yes.
But adults, maybe they have a balance. They are aware. But for children,
Okay.
they are just attracted to it like a magnet, and they're going further down. For example, we had children that's so much with the screen, they can talk, but they don't talk. Do you want to eat? They'll just nod like that. They won't even say if they want to go somewhere, they need something, they're in pain. They are just focusing there. And they are cut off from the world. They are connected virtually. And we know all the virtual ills that's happening in the social media field. Children, this is one of the main difficulties nowadays, that they are so much addicted and they don't do their homework, you know? They won't eat, they won't go out and play. Like you were saying, outside, you as a child, you were going, even I went, you know, we had some nice gardens and we were playing badminton outside, or we're playing in the mud or in the rivers.
Exactly.
To keep in touch with nature. Nowadays, we're cut off from nature. And not to forget, we are made of nature, the 5 elements.
Exactly.
And we have to go back to there. We go back there one day. We come in this world, we have to go. So children, they are disconnected from all these natural elements. And they're connected with the device. And so many research has been done by great scientists that furthermore, if this continues in that trend, children will no longer be able to think by themselves or take a decision. Press a button and it's done.
So let's say, what happens there? How do you deal with the child? How do you deal with the parents? You mentioned child psychology, youth psychology,
Yes.
and also
Parenting, family
exactly. So
counseling.
what happens then?
First, we have to know what is so attractive in that device that's taking all the attention of the child.
Shouldn't we more focus on how come the child is so attracted to it first, or the parents let the child do that?
Parents, they find an easy way out. You know, children are throwing tantrums. Give them the phone, they will start playing.
This is what I was trying to refer earlier. It's because when you said that the responsibility is both of us, I think that parents have slightly more responsibility than the child.
Yeah, totally. Because first teachers are the parents first. And children, they look at their parents and then they learn also, which is why we say we are the best role model for our kid. If we ourselves, we are on our phone and we don't want our child to be the same. So first we need to rectify our actions in some ways so that the child can see. And it's not only words that have impact. Much more, it's what we do. The child sees and then learns. We will say, you have to say thank you. But Dad, you don't say thank you. How will I expect? You know, that's an example. So we are the role model. We have to give the example. So then parents, they have to know when they're planning for a child, what are the responsibilities that entail. We'll find the best hospital, the best clothes, maybe the best environment, all the material things. But then, is that enough? When the child will grow, what are the best values that we should give the child? Then that comes that the parent should have enough background or enough baggage, enough knowledge about that to know what my child needs and not to compare with other children.
What is you mentioned earlier that you try to find the reason why the child is so attracted to a device. What is normally the reason? What happens there?
First of all, it's a screen. A screen has colors.
So it's the release of dopamine in the mind?
That's also there. We have music. We have thrilling images. Nowadays, children, they are more attracted to games. There are games there. And there are educational games, different kinds of games. Running games, attention games, memory games, but then there are also killing games.
Yeah.
The more you kill, the more points you get. Parents should work together with the psychologist or the person helping there, the therapist, let's say, and find a way, okay, give a time. We are not taking out the technological device at all. We need to replace it with something else. So then the child doesn't feel he's being deprived of that device.
That probably comes with the parents spending more time.
Absolutely.
All right.
Or we give something else, a book. Nowadays, this also is going, is disappearing, books, writing and all that. But find games, memory games. We have cards, we play games with your child. Why the child is attracted so much to the device? Because there are games there. There's nobody to play with him. Now, the fashion also is, the trend is one child.
Yes.
So he doesn't have any siblings. With whom will he play? And the parents are working whole day and whole night. Sometimes whole night, yes. For whom are they working so hard? For the child.
I have a feeling that you being a musician, you play the guitar, you sing, you play the harmonium and various other instruments.
Yes.
Do you use, over and above using spirituality in your psychology, your psychological advices, do you also use music in your treatments?
Yes, there's the music therapy, among all other therapies, that's very effective, especially for children. We say no, we talk to the child, they don't listen. Right?
Yeah.
So why is that? Because words maybe are boring for them. It doesn't have an impact. If the same thing, we work it out and we try and find a way and we sing to them or maybe get in the music aspect. Most kids, I would say most kids, they're attracted to music. So I use this therapy, music therapy, for my counseling sessions. And the percentage of
what's the response
change,
exactly?
The response of that is very much high because in the UK, the European countries and American countries, lots of music therapy have shown very effective results with children with disruptive behavior, OCD, or maybe children with disabilities, with other capabilities they're not able to. So this helps them to calm first the mind. Music, sometimes it helps us to distress. We have the Zumba, which we use music. When there are sports, we use all the drums. It's music to cheer up all the players. For children as well, sometimes a study has been done. Children who study with an instrumental music in the background have shown more successful results in their studies compared to other kids who got average marks and didn't have the instrumental music in the background.
It's low instrumental music because when the child focuses, he doesn't hear the music, but when he relaxes, he can hear the music.
Yes, that's true.
It's a very fine line.
Subtle.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
subtle. And I would say music like flute or piano or guitar in the background. And it has helped me also.
That works for me too.
Absolutely.
My parents and my siblings always thought that I was crazy that I had background music when I was studying. I mean, when I was studying. But
you cannot show them now. A psychologist is telling you. No, that's
maybe
true.
20 years late.
Right. But yeah, it works. And children with hyperactiveness, you can say, my child is hyperactive, or a child who doesn't listen, they're too slack, they're lethargic. Music works for them. And now we have different kinds of music. Music that's lively music, or instrumental music, songs, make them dance. So then we have different therapy, like we have different medication for different diseases. So there are different therapies in music as well for different kind of problems.
Saivani, thank you to you for being here in the studios of the MBC, and thank you for sharing your wisdom. All the best going forward, and keep on shining, keep on singing, keep on playing instruments, and keep helping people. And also, you do a lot of social work also. Yeah. So keep shining.
Thank you so much, Roshan. It was a pleasure to be here.
Welcome. It's also my pleasure.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the end of this episode of Encounter. I hope you have enjoyed it as much as I have. If you have any queries or questions, drop an email. It's encounter@mbc.net.mu. Until the very next program, goodbye.